Say about imposter syndrome. Welcome to the School of Self-Worth Live, everybody. I'm Sam, the Self-Worth Sam, and today's episode number 203. I'm going to be talking about what the research about imposter syndrome says, and I am a good researcher, and I went to Google Scholar, and I found a really great article that summarizes the last 50, 60 years of research around imposter syndrome. So I'm just going to talk to you about some of the findings from this paper. It comes from the Journal of Mental Health and Clinical Psychology, and the article is called Commentary, Prevalence, Predictors, and Treatment of Imposter Syndrome, a Systematic Review by Bravata, Madhusudan, Brohoff, and Coakley. And I think they are all part of various universities around the world. But here's just a few of the things. So these researchers, they looked at 62 peer-reviewed studies that have been done since about 1966 to 2018 on imposter syndrome. 66 research studies, which include asking about 14,000 individuals who experienced imposter syndrome. And if you're new to imposter syndrome or you don't know what it is, imposter syndrome is self-doubt despite evidence of ongoing success, which in other words means you feel like a fake, regardless of the fact that you're actually successful. And I'm speaking specifically to performers and artists, actors, singers, dancers, anyone who gets on a stage, a screen, and a studio who experience imposter syndrome, even though they're successful. So maybe this will help you. So a lot of people have been researched since 1966 about imposter syndrome. So it is a thing. They found that imposter syndrome varies widely in the studies between only about 9% of people having it. Imposter evidence. Let's look at this. So it says, although much of the earliest literature and research focused on women, it's clear that imposter syndrome affects both men and women. And they said that 16 articles or research articles found greater symptoms of imposter syndrome among women, and 17 articles found no gender effect. Imposter syndrome affects individuals across the age spectrum, but it tends to decrease with age. I guess that's because as you get a bit older, you just care less about what other people might be thinking of you, which is an empowering thing, I believe. 11 studies evaluated imposter syndrome among minority student populations. These studies found that imposter syndrome is common among African, Asian, and Latina American college students, and that imposter feelings are significantly negatively associated with poor psychological well-being, depression, and anxiety. These studies identified several factors that may predispose minority students to increased psychological stress during their educational experiences, including a lack of adequate financial aid, resulting in the need to work to support themselves financially, racial discrimination, and being the first in their families to pursue advanced education. There's also some evidence in all of this research regarding imposter syndrome to suggest that for ethnic minority populations that there is a racial component of imposter feelings. For example, a recent qualitative study with Black graduate students found that 5 themes related to imposter feelings. They found 5 themes, which are awareness of low racial representation, questioning their intelligence, expectations, psychosocial costs, and explaining success externally. They also found that it may be prudent to consider that the clinical definition of imposter syndrome be culturally adjusted to properly assess minority students in order to help them to navigate feelings of otherness and racial isolation, and the need to prove themselves on the basis of their race. So that was just some of the findings from all of the research on imposter syndrome. That's just a snapshot. They also found that imposter syndrome, well, this is a fact, that imposter syndrome is not yet recognized as a psychiatric disorder, although a lot of psychiatrists, psychotherapists, people in mental health, the professionals, have said that imposter syndrome probably should become recognized as a disorder, for the one beautiful reason or benefit that once something is recognized as a disorder, then that means that funding can go into more research and that it can really help people to overcome imposter syndrome. So if you want that, I'll try and put the link in there. It's from mentalhealthjournal.org. And I really love love reading about imposter syndrome, especially from the academic point of view. And then I tried to explain some of the things, just in summary, to give people a bit of assistance along the way so that they can feel confident whatever it is that they're doing. All right, if you've enjoyed this video, I've got a free gift for you. It's called Crush Imposter Syndrome Forever. And it's a self-confidence starter kit, and you get it at samosborne.com/starter kit. And I hope that you are having a great day, everybody.